Did you know that Asia, home to over 4.7 billion people, faces an economic crisis that could shake the world? With some nations struggling under immense debt, political instability, and environmental disasters, could 2025 mark the beginning of a collapse of these countries? So, stay with us until the end, because the number one country on this list might just surprise you. Asia is often seen as a powerhouse of economic growth and technological advancements. However, behind the scenes, several countries are teetering on the edge of disaster. From unsustainable debts to severe political unrest, 2025 could be a defining year for many Asian nations. In this video, we will explore 10 countries facing extreme challenges that could lead to economic and social downfall. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? Your insights matter. Let's dive in. First up, China, the world's second largest economy and an undeniable global force. However, even the strongest giants have weak points. China faces a decelerating economy, a real estate disaster, and soaring debt. Once a major economic driver, the property sector is crumbling, with companies like Evergrande defaulting on billions of dollars in loans. Many local governments, heavily relying on land sales, now struggle financially. Then there's the looming demographic crisis. Due to the long-standing one-child policy, China's workforce is shrinking rapidly. By 2025, over 20% of its citizens will be over 60, straining both the economy and social services. Add to this ongoing geopolitical tensions with the U.S. and its allies, which disrupt trade and tech industries. A struggling manufacturing sector, inflation, and unemployment could push China into an even more fragile state, potentially shaking the entire region. On top of this, environmental crises such as severe air pollution and water shortages are worsening, impacting not just public health, but also industrial and agricultural production. Number 9, Pakistan. A nation with a rich history, is currently facing immense financial struggles. Soaring inflation, a currency in free fall, and unsustainable debt have put the country on the brink. By 2023, inflation had soared to a shocking 27%, while the Pakistani rupee plummeted by over 30% in value. Industries are collapsing under energy shortages, and the country remains reliant on IMF bailouts, each accompanied by strict austerity measures. Political unrest is also rampant, with ongoing protests, corruption scandals, and government instability fueling uncertainty. Natural disasters, including devastating floods, have displaced millions and wrecked infrastructure. Without urgent reforms, Pakistan risks deeper financial and political chaos by 2025. Additionally, security challenges in regions such as Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa further complicate the situation. Terrorism and insurgency continue to siphon resources away from development, leaving the country more vulnerable than ever. Number 8, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka made global headlines in 2022 for its worst financial crisis in decades, and its recovery has been painfully slow. Public debt has exceeded 120% of GDP, and the country nearly exhausted its foreign reserves, forcing it to default on international loans. Shortages of essentials such as food and fuel have driven inflation above 50%, leaving citizens struggling to survive. Tourism, a key economic pillar, is rebounding but still lags behind pre-pandemic levels. Meanwhile, political instability remains a major roadblock, with frequent leadership changes and mass protests against government failures. Without drastic international aid and systemic reforms, Sri Lanka could plunge deeper into economic turmoil by 2025. Environmental degradation is another pressing issue. Deforestation and soil erosion threaten agriculture, the backbone of Sri Lanka's workforce. Without sustainable interventions, these problems will further destabilize the country. Number 7, Myanmar. Myanmar has been in turmoil since its 2021 military coup, leading to severe economic and political deterioration. Sanctions, currency collapse, and rising poverty have crippled the country. Ongoing armed conflict between the military and resistance groups have displaced millions, creating an escalating humanitarian crisis. Once a promising economy, Myanmar has experienced sharp contractions, with foreign investment vanishing. Basic services, such as healthcare and education, remain out of reach for large portions of the population. Without a clear path towards stability and recovery, Myanmar risks deeper isolation and worsening conditions by 2025. Moreover, the massive refugee crisis spilling into neighboring countries adds to regional instability. These cascading problems not only threaten Myanmar's future, but also strain the entire Southeast Asian region. Number 6. North Korea remains one of the world's most secretive nations, but its internal crises are glaring. Severe economic hardships, exacerbated by sanctions and global isolation, have left the country in shambles. By 2023, food shortages had reached alarming levels, with reports of famine emerging from rural areas. The government's heavy focus on military spending diverts resources away from healthcare and infrastructure. A sluggish global economy and reduced trade with its key ally, China, have worsened the crisis. If conditions deteriorate further, North Korea could face a humanitarian disaster with widespread repercussions across East Asia. Additionally, outdated infrastructure hinders the efficient distribution of scarce resources, worsening the humanitarian emergency and blocking potential economic recovery. Number 5. Afghanistan. After decades of war, Afghanistan continues to battle massive challenges. Since the Taliban regained control in 2021, economic isolation and strict sanctions have crippled the nation. International aid, once crucial, has plummeted, leaving millions in dire poverty. Food shortages are widespread, with nearly half of the population suffering from hunger. The banking sector is barely functioning, and inflation has made basic goods unaffordable. Women's rights have been severely restricted, leading to further global condemnation and diplomatic isolation. If no intervention occurs, Afghanistan's humanitarian crisis could reach catastrophic levels by 2025. Additionally, the rampant opium trade perpetuates instability, draining resources from development and fueling corruption. This illicit economy makes meaningful reform increasingly difficult. Number 4. Lebanon. Lebanon's economy has been in free fall for years, with no signs of recovery. By 2023, the Lebanese pound had lost over 90% of its value, wiping out savings and pushing most citizens into poverty. Infrastructure is failing, with frequent blackouts and severe shortages of essentials. Political paralysis has stalled necessary reforms, and corruption remains deeply entrenched. With youth unemployment surging and over 80% of the population below the poverty line, Lebanon's social fabric is unraveling. Without immediate intervention, the country could face total economic collapse by 2025. Additionally, the strain of hosting over 1 million Syrian refugees is overwhelming Lebanon's already depleted resources, pushing the nation to the brink. Number 3. Bangladesh. Although Bangladesh has seen rapid economic growth in recent years, emerging vulnerabilities pose serious threats. Climate change is a major concern, as rising sea levels risk displacing millions. Frequent floods and cyclones damage infrastructure and agriculture, two key economic pillars. The garment industry, a crucial export sector, faces increasing global competition and rising production costs. Political instability and corruption further erode investor confidence. If these issues remain unresolved, Bangladesh could experience a significant economic slowdown by 2025. Moreover, rapid urbanization is straining public resources, creating social tensions and slowing recovery efforts. Number 2. Laos. One of Asia's poorest nations, Laos is sinking deeper into economic distress. By 2023, its debt to GDP ratio exceeded 90%, with much of it owed to China. Laos heavily relies on hydropower for revenue, but droughts and fluctuating energy prices make this strategy unreliable. Inflation has soared and the currency has sharply depreciated, making imports more expensive. Slow infrastructure development and widespread corruption hinder economic growth. If unresolved, Laos could face severe instability by 2025, with mass poverty looming. Additionally, the lack of technological advancement limits its global competitiveness, keeping the nation stuck in economic stagnation. Last, the Maldives. A tropical paradise, faces grave threats from both economic instability and climate change. Rising sea levels are eroding its islands, endangering tourism infrastructure, the backbone of an economy. Although tourism rebounded post-pandemic, reliance on imports makes the country vulnerable to global disruptions. Public debt surpassing 100% of GDP is another concern, limiting economic diversification. If the Maldives fails to secure global support and address these crises, it risks both financial collapse and territorial loss by 2025. Moreover, a rising cost of living is widening social inequalities, making it harder for locals to invest in long-term resilience. With so many Asian nations on the brink, the future remains uncertain. Could international aid, policy reforms, or technological advancements prevent a full-scale collapse? Or will 2025 be the year where multiple nations experience an economic and social breakdown? The next few months will be crucial in determining Asia's future. We have explored 10 Asian nations facing immense challenges in 2025, from economic crises to political instability. While some countries may find a way to recover, others face an uphill battle that could change the course of their future forever. What are your thoughts on these challenges? Do you think these countries can overcome their crises, or will 2025 be a turning point? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analysis on global issues. See you in the next video.